Hey, welcome back to the Ping Pong Flick Show. My name is Chris Wong. There has been a new interesting update about Cyborg. If you are a fan of Cyborg from Justice League, which I am, I totally think he should have had more to do in that movie, and we kind of know he probably did in the Snyder Cut. I mean, Zack Snyder said he was supposed to have been the heart of the film, and if that was the case, we didn't get much of it. So, I mean, we've already seen the little cut details of the football field and everything, the football game and all that, and his mom. But it looks like it possible that the shots in Cyborg scenes in Justice League may end up in the solo Cyborg movie. This is coming from /film.com. Justice League actor Joe Morton, who played his father, Silas Stone, shot more Cyborg scenes that could end up in solo Cyborg movie. Terminator 2 Judgment Day star Joe Morton was on a Television Critics Association panel for his new CBS show, God Friended Me. He plays the estranged father of an atheist podcaster who begins getting Facebook requests from God. So, that's yours. I want to read more into that. But /film asked Joe Morton about the status of the Cyborg movie first announced in 2014, which hasn't had any updates in recent years. He plays Silas Stone, the scientist father of Victor Stone, Ray Fisher, who builds his son a cyborg body after Victor suffers a catastrophic accident. Morton tells us what he knows about the status of the developing Cyborg movie, how the Justice League reshoots changed the story, and what could mean for the solo film. Apparently, Cyborg is still happening. After the declining box office of the DC Extended Universe films and the backlash against them, Warner Brothers decided to forego focusing only on the shared universe films in favor of standalone solo films featuring DC characters. Of course, Cyborg was always part of DC's forthcoming slate, and according to Morton, the character's solo film still on as far as he knows. I know there's supposed to be a Cyborg movie. They're going to shoot in 2020. Morton said, that's all I know. I haven't seen a script. Maybe they never told him it's not on the slate, or maybe it still is. It should be noted that the supposed release date for a Cyborg movie was sometime in 2020. So maybe that's what Morton is referring to when he gives out that year. But it's always possible that Warner Brothers has plans for a Cyborg movie to get off the ground in 2020 and be released a couple years later. Pieces of Zack Snyder Justice League cut could be used. Joe Morton's character Silas Stone was first introduced in Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice in the video Diana Prince opens, featuring all the future Justice League teammates showing off their powers. The character only has a few scenes in the final release version of Justice League, but Morton confirmed he shot a lot more. There was more we shot, Morton said. They completely changed the story. Here's where it gets interesting. The scenes they took out of Justice League could end up being rewritten in the Cyborg movie. Unfortunately, I can't tell you what the original story is because that might end up being in part of the Cyborg movie. Morton said, yes, there was a big change once they decided that they were going to do the Cyborg film. Ever since Justice League opened, fans have been asking Warner Bros. To release the original cut of the movie Zack Snyder shot, with no Joss Whedon reshoot scenes. We know that includes scenes with Cyborg that were reshot to help to change the tone of the movie. The studio claims Zack never finished his cut, so there's no cut to release. A storyboard artist who worked on the film disputes that, but the cut he's referring to likely doesn't exist in the form some fan thinks it is. Oh, here we go. What Morton says sounds like another reason to keep the Snyder Cut buried. Really? If they still want to do the Cyborg story they took out the Justice League, it wouldn't be prudent to let that come out, especially if pieces of his backstory that might be better served in Cyborg's solo movie. One hint of the story for Cyborg's solo movie. While Morton has not seen a script for a Cyborg movie and he only knows what he shot for Justice League, the actor has still heard some plans for the Cyborg movie. It would involve his character and the rest of the Stone family. I think the idea is to deal more with his family, so you watch the evolution of him becoming Cyborg, Morton said. According to Morton, Cyborg is still on track for a 2020 release, but we'll see what happens. So that's the article from /film. For my thoughts on that is that yes, if they are planning to do a Cyborg solo movie, I think seeing Cyborg's origin in Zack Snyder's films, Justice League Snyder Cut, would be a little problematic. Maybe, unless they're not gonna do an origin story for Cyborg, then that's or doing Cyborg movie altogether. Like he said, that's the last thing he knows since 2020. But it looks like Warner Brothers is not even telling the cast what's happening right now, right? They pretty much keeping a tight ship. And so I want to say that maybe it's up in the air about Cyborg's solo movie. But I want to go into that there are scenes of him. There was a different story of Cyborg in the Snyder Cut as that's different from the one we saw in the theaters. And one of these is really interesting is that Kyle Buchanan, who is a senior editor of Vulture, released this interesting tidbit of information. Justice League reshoots change Cyborg's arc the most. Originally, Joe Morton's character was killed halfway through, and Cyborg finds a video from him at the end that lets Morton's lines play over the final montage. Whedon gave those lines to Amy Adams. So this is coming from a senior editor at Vulture, and his name by Kyle Buchanan. He tweeted it out. It doesn't say in the /film.com, but he says it there. That's what he's learned. And when you think about it, it makes kind of sense that Joe Morton may have been killed in Justice League, and it was a darker moment. And Warner Brothers seeing that as, I think we need him and Cyborg in the actual origin story. As we all know that Zack Snyder wanted to make a self-contained little small universe, and then other directors could pick apart and make their own solo films, a prequel film if you want, or something or the other. What we're hearing here is very similar to what James Wan did with Aquaman. They wanted to, hey, can I be able to introduce Aquaman and Atlantis in my movie? And so they took that out. Well, maybe the person who wanted to direct Cyborg says, hey, can we utilize Cyborg in his own movie? And that's what happened with there. So there's possibilities of that as well. Although there was also rumors that Cyborg was going to team up with Flash. Remember that? What happened to that? So we don't actually know what is happening. Was that maybe Cyborg team with the Flash and the other? I don't know, whatever. But that's interesting. And the part where it lets at the end was Morton's lines that are playing over the final montage. That also kind of makes sense. If Cyborg was the heart of the film, it would make sense that it would end with, mainly he's the main character of Justice League, and Joe Morton's lines, well, Silas Stone's lines, will be talking about him, and we'll have some type of montage with the heroes. Of course, that was changed later, possibly even the lines itself, to Amy Adams. Of course, the lines that we heard in the promo don't even fit Joss Whedon's lines of Amy Adams' lines at the end of Justice League as well. So, like I said, there could have been multiple cuts of this, and not cuts of this, I don't want to, let's not blur the line here, but there's possibly multiple plans of how it was going to go about. And I think one of the biggest changes was that we'll lessen the origins of these characters in order for the directors and the creative teams for those solo films to have the opportunity to make those origin films. Now, what does that mean about the Snyder Cut? Who knows? Does the Snyder Cut contain every single thing? The Aquaman origin, Flash origin, Cyborg origin. Will it have all of that? Possibly. I mean, probably. It probably had everything there, and then afterwards, everybody could make a film that is the sequel to that Justice League because they got the origins out of the way. But who knows what the current changes are? The Joe Morton's changes were back in the days of John Berg and Jeff Johns, like I've said earlier. This is the Walter Hamada vision. This is the Walter Hamada days now. And that's the ones where we got to focus on and see how that's going to turn out. But Justice League Snyder Cut is still out there. And maybe we can finally kind of ask for it in an old-fashioned way. I want to share with you What Fiona and a bunch of Vinolo 7 and a whole bunch of this is all originated from Comic Movie Marks, who did a whole Donner cut of Superman 2, this whole video, and they talked about how the fans at that time did a little snail mail campaign and wrote a letter to the studio, and Warner Brothers actually had talked about it. So there were no emails back then. They did the snail mail. But why would this be effective now? Because everybody gets an email. It's so easy to get a tweet and email. We hardly get mail anymore. So let's do a mail thing. So this is the plan here. I'm going to read this to you, and I'm going to post this up. But release the Snyder Cut. After our successful online Release the Snyder Cut campaign, we made the world sit up and notice us. To take this campaign to the next level, we need to let Warner Brothers and DC know that we are not just some digital entity. We need to show them that we are real people. We believe the best way to do this with a traditional letter writing snail mail campaign. This type of campaign pushed Warner Brothers to release the Donner cut of Superman 2. So let us follow their example. When the head of DC Films, Walter Hamada, shows up to work on Monday, August 27th, we want him to be greeted by thousands of happy and enthusiastic letters. We want to show him we are a passionate and positive fan base that are willing to put our money where our pens are. Sending a tweet is free and easy, but by investing our time and a little bit of money on writing and sending a letter, it will show that we will buy copies of the Snyder Cut of Justice League. We also want each one of you to find at least 3 friends or family members to send a letter to. That will show that we are also enthusiastic enough to encourage others to buy the Snyder Cut. We also want you to take a selfie with your letter and post it with a Release the Snyder Cut on Twitter. So how do we execute this plan? Writing the letter. For those who are confident writing a letter in English, feel free to express yourselves as you wish, but be sure to maintain a positive and hopeful tone. For those who are not confident in their letter writing or with the English language, we provide the form letter below, which you can use. Just add your name and city and country to personalize it. Be creative. We recommend that it will be written by hand, and if you want to add some art, go for it. This is the letter, if you choose to put this in your letter. Okay, so this is what it says. Dear Mr. Hamada, my name is, write your name there, and I am a huge DC film fan from, write the city and country here. I am just writing to let you know that I am excited to watch Zack Snyder's director's cut of the DC film Justice League. I would also like to let you know that I have spoken to friends and family about the potential of this film, and we would all be thrilled if you would hashtag release the Snyder Cut. I am making a commitment to purchase copies of the film on home video and to encourage as many people as I can to do so too. I hope you see the potential in releasing this truer version of the film to the general public, but especially for the fans who have stuck by DC Films through thick and thin. Yours hopefully, and you can go ahead and sign your name there. Now there's an important thing here. There is a map of the world and a rough guide of how long it takes for a letter to be delivered to Warner Brothers Studios from that location, because essentially we wanted all the letters to pile up in his mailbox and hopefully not get rejected by the post office, please, depending on, but it has to be there on Monday, August 27th to feel a little bit more successful in that rate. So there's the addressing the letter there. Attention, Mr. Walter Hamada, 4000 Warner Boulevard, Building 168, Burbank, California 91522. Of course, United States of America. If you're not in the United States of America, we have not forgotten the fight goes on, and there are dates there on which they recommend to mail out. For me, it's Hawaii, August 22nd. So I will be mailing out August 22nd on that day. My letter. I'll even put my own Ping Pong Flick Show letterhead if possible, and we'll try to send something out there. So that is amazing that we're gonna do this. I hope it works out. We had a vote. There were like, I don't know, almost 1,000 people who said yes. So I'm sure there's more out there, and it'll be just a great push, a physical something that we can actually send to them to see that, recognize it, to actually see that it's not just a bunch of people on the internet without a voice, without writing and things like that. So I'm really excited for this. So definitely check this out. Please go on Twitter. I'll even put this. Maybe I'll just copy all this and put it in my. Well, let me see if I can do that. Somewhere I'm gonna put it in my video. Okay, so somehow I'm gonna put this in my video, and so please be on the lookout for that. Please, on your days, send out that mail, send out that snail mail. If you want to keep sending it out, that's up to you, but send it out on those dates so that it'll be pretty effective when come Monday, August 27th, around that time. Mr. Walter Hamada, you're gonna be loaded with mails and everything. We're gonna do some positive change for this movement, and I think now, no trolling, no negativity, just in a positive light, right? So that's it. Please be on the lookout for that. I'll continue to talk about that letter movement throughout my videos and my other DCEU videos coming later on. So hopefully you guys go ahead and write about that. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for subscribing. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.